So, so yesterday we tackled, let me zoom out. Yes, yesterday we tackled unit 3.3. Welcome to Perfect City. And yes, 3.4, London, the DVD unit. All right. So how was your day?
It was great.
Wonderful.
Good, good. So today we're going to move to unit 4. The name of the module is Justice. What do you think this module is going to be about?
Courts.
Courts, maybe.
About crimes and
Crime.
something like that. Cases.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. So let's buckle up. Let's start with 4.1. And again here, the name is Fight for Justice. So what do you think this lesson is going to be about? Crime, perhaps? Court? Yeah, just like what we said. So here there are like two strange questions. Like, yeah, we can read them, but you don't have to answer them. Imagine you were arrested for a crime you didn't commit. What would you do? Oh, if it was me, like it would be really difficult.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll try to get some evidence to prove that it wasn't me.
Lawyer.
I think the first thing I would do is to have a very good lawyer. Yes. They know the system. I don't. Wow. A very harsh topic. Sorry, what did you say?
Your voice was lagging. I can't hear anything.
All right, it's just the internet. It goes and come back. So the second question is imagine you're offered a choice. Look at these two choices. Admit a lesser charge and go to prison a shorter time, or fight to protect your freedom. So I will help you to understand this question. Like you're innocent, okay? And they give you two choices. It's to admit that you did something that you didn't do and get a lesser charge and go home, like a suspended sentence. A suspended sentence is like a sentence you have while you're home, or you fight for your freedom, but you need to be in jail. That's really difficult.
I would take to stay
I
at
would
home.
choose the second thing, to fight for.
Fight for freedom,
me too.
right?
I feel like if you fight for your freedom, it would cost you a lot, maybe.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what we're going to read about now. This is a very a very interesting article to read today. It's based on a film. I think the film is based on a real story, or I think so. So we're going to read American Violet, a criminal justice story. You can find it there. Can you see that, lady?
Yes.
Yes, just under there. Okay. So let's read this article and then we're going to answer the questions together. Okay?
Okay.
Based on true events. I told you. American Violet tells, just let me zoom it in. Yes, that's better. Yes. American Violet tells the astonishing story of Dee Roberts, a courageous young waitress who is prepared to risk everything in a battle for justice that will ultimately change her life forever. Wow, that's really interesting. So who wants to read?
I can.
Go ahead, please.
It is the last thing she expects to happen. Dee reporters. A single 24-year-old mother of 4 children is working her shift in the local dinner of a small Texas town.
I think
When
it's a diner. It's like a place for dinner.
Sorry, yes, the local diner of a small Texas town. When police stormed into the cafe and dragged Dee out in handcuffs, arrested for suspected drug offenses. Dee is left in the county prison, where she learns that police have
Raided.
raided
Yes.
the housing project where she lives and arrested a number of people. Dee soon discovers she is being charged as a drug dealer based on evidence provided by a single unreliable police informant
Informant.
who's facing his own drug charges.
Thank you.
Oh,
Well, that's really interesting. I mean, she was innocent, but the police raided the place. Do you know the meaning of raided here?
no.
Like to get into the place with many people, like a raid. Okay. Let's continue and see what happens with her. Who wants to continue?
Teacher,
I can.
Ram sent you something?
My voice isn't clear.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Perhaps it's my internet. Just let me change the network there. Okay. Hey, is it any better now? Hello?
No, teachers.
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
The problem is with Ikram, maybe with her internet.
I think my internet is stable now. Okay, I can read. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Although she has no previous convictions and no drugs are found on her at the time of her arrest or in any other subsequent searches, Dee is offered an impossible choice: plead guilty to the charges and be allowed home as a convict criminal with a 10-year suspended sentence. Yes, this is the sentence I told you about. Suspended sentence is like a sentence that is not, well, they just keep her under some, supervision, but they don't put her in jail. It's called suspended sentence. Or stay in prison to fight the charges and risk a much longer prison sentence if she loses her case. Everybody from her mother, who is looking after her children, to her lawyer, who offered a little hope of winning the case, urged Dee to accept the deal and plead guilty to a crime she hasn't committed. But Dee's sense of justice prevails, and she decided to risk her own freedom and the custody of her children to stand up for what she believes in. To stand up for what she believes is right. She chooses to fight the district attorney who ordered the racially motivated drugs raid, and refuses to confess to something she didn't do. Wow, that's really interesting. So she didn't take that kind of plead guilty. Like if she confessed that she's guilty, they're gonna just put her in a suspended sentence, okay? And for like 10 years, and will never arrest her in prison. But if she refused to admit, they would jail her for a long time if she lost the case, you see? And everybody advised her to take the first option, because back then, especially like they said, look, racially motivated drugs raid. So that means they knew that it was because of her color, you know. Back then in the, I don't know when is this, just let me, but I think it's back then in the 70s or 80s when like was, or even, I don't know, maybe even 90s, I have no idea. But I mean, back then the Black people were treated so bad. So they would just, it would be very easy to convince someone that the Black people have drugs, you see? That's why they're convincing her to take the first option, so she cannot lose her children, or even like perhaps to be imprisoned. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really harsh. Who didn't read?
Yes.
I can read now.
Did you read Tartil? Who read? I forgot who
I
read.
think I read the first paragraph.
Okay. You can read now, Tasneem.
Okay. Working together with a lawyer from the Civil Liberties Union and previous narcotic.
Yes.
That was
Narcissus officer. It's the kind of material. It's like a drug.
okay. Narcosis officer. He discovers that it is a regular practice for these types of raids to take place, and that the war on drugs in the USA means that local police forces get more money according to the number of convictions they make. This situation leads to arrests being made based on little or no evidence, and pressure being put on those arrested to sign plea agreements. It seems that the more guilty plea agreements that are signed, the easier it is for the district attorney to build a record as a crime fighter, even though in reality it is really he who is committing the crime. Those who are arrested often have little choice but to agree to the guilty plea and accept the conviction. They simply don't have the courage and the resources to be able to fight the system and prove their innocence.
Thank you. So according to this paragraph, that so many people like working, just let's check what happened to her case, then we can see here. They discovered that it's regular. Yes. They didn't say what happened to her, but they said that many people go for the plea arguments, and they sign that kind of guilty plea argument. So they would confess something that they didn't do to us, you know, just not to be imprisoned for long period of time because they don't have the resources and the courage to fight the system. Perhaps, you know, like corrupt police officers do that so they can hide something else. And she found out that it happened to many people like her. Of course, all of this information is from this film, the film American Violet, which is based on the true story of Regina Kelly, who fought her case against the criminal justice system and won. So yeah, she won eventually. Highlights these dysfunctions within the system and shows how difficult it can be for poorer people to defend themselves. Very interesting. And yeah, it's in America. So what do you think about all of this, guys?
Teacher, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now.
Yes, Ikram, go ahead. Do you want to ask about any of the vocabulary, for example?
Yeah, please, can you say what does plea mean? Like to sign a plea agreement?
It's I told you, it's like they sign that they're guilty, so they can give them suspended sentence. Okay, it's like cooperation with the police. They say that they did it, and in exchange they get a suspended sentence. Suspended sentence is like a sentence for those convicts. It's like a sentence that is not applicable right now. They just put them under supervision, and they're just, you know, they live with their families.
Teacher, I have distract attorney.
Attorney?
Yes.
District is like an area, like
Yeah.
like a city. Okay, this is district. Attorney, it's like a lawyer, but here for the district attorney to build a record, yes, it's like a lawyer,
Oh,
a
okay.
lawman.
And also this fictions
It's
function.
yes, these functions. It means like not working well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other vocabulary here?
Teacher,
Yes, please.
I'm going like to change my Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Net.
Feel
Yeah, I'm going
comfortable.
to change it. Give me just 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm sorry,
Feel
but just
comfortable.
5 minutes.
Yes, sure, no problem. So what do you think about all of this, guys? Let's answer the questions. Let's answer the questions here. So before we answer the questions, what do you think about all of this?
It's harsh. It's
Yes,
like,
it is.
imagine you're being innocent and people keep saying that you have to do both things that you don't have even to do, you know. That you're
Yes, you need to like to
choose.
confess.
Yes, when you
Yeah,
didn't, you haven't done anything.
unfortunately, and it happens. It happened to some people. I believe maybe till today it can happen.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Let's answer the questions together, okay? We have here 6 questions. Let me read the first one, and if you want, you can take a few seconds to read them and answer them. Then we can do them together.
Okay.
Okay. Let's do it together, guys. So what crime was D. Roberts charged with?
Offenses.
Like a drug dealer?
Drug dealing, yes. She was charged with drug dealing. Thank you. Now, did the police have any strong evidence against her?
No.
No.
They didn't have. They only had some like information from a police officer. And that the same police officer had charges with drug offenses. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately. So what was difficult? What was the difficult choice that she was offered?
She decided to take a risk her own freedom.
Yeah, but before what she decided to do, 3 is just asking us what was the difficult choice. I believe she had to decide whether to plead guilty and to be allowed home, or to stay in prison and fight her like freedom.
Yes.
Now, 4, who persuaded D. Roberts to plead guilty and why? Persuaded means like to convince. Do you remember?
The police officer?
Now, who persuaded her to say that she is guilty and to stay home? This is plead guilty means.
Did they mean persuaded or pressurized?
Oh, sorry, pressurized, yes.
Was it the police officer?
I don't think so. I think it was by her family and her lawyer, because they wanted her to say that she's, like to plead to plead guilty and go back home, because they had like a deep feeling that statistically everyone with her race, they want to win the case. They want to win the case anyway. That's why they were trying to convince her to do that. Okay, now number 5. Why do you think she chose not to plead guilty? Why did she do that?
She wants to fight for justice.
Yeah, she had a strong sense of justice and she didn't want to. Yeah. So the last one, according to the article, what are the faults of the criminal justice system?
They didn't have strong evidence.
Yes, the police is racially motivated. They had a raid because the place was perhaps for the Black people, and they had little evidences, like little evidence. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, let me show you the answers. You can take them from here. Can you see them now?
Yes.
You can take them. Okay, did you take them?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Let's move back to our book. So, do you think she did the right thing? And was it worth the risk, in your opinion?
Yes, it is.
Definitely, totally. All right. Now let's move on to vocabulary. Now we have time collocations. Collocations like 2 words going together. For example, to protest their innocence. Okay, they say to protest their innocence. It means like to take their innocence. Here, I will give you a few seconds so you can try to put the correct verb with the word. So you can make a collocation. You can see another example here. A drug-related offense. a police raid. Now, a wrongful conviction, for example, to suspend a sentence, to commit a crime, and so on. Here you have drug, prove, down, carry out, driving, report, previous, and appeal against, to fill in the gaps. Go on. Okay, have you finished?
Yes.
All right, let's do it together. So, number 1, to their innocence.
Prove.
To prove, that's correct. Now let's move on to the second collocation. To commit a crime, to a crime.
Carry out.
To carry out a crime, that's correct. Or to
Driving.
Report.
to report a crime. Yes, to report a crime. All right, now to suspend a sentence or to a sentence.
Appeal against.
Appeal against, that's correct. That's correct. All right, now a drug-related offense or
Drugs offense.
Drug.
drugs offenses. Okay, let's say drug offenses. Let's put it drugs. Let me check here. Now, a police raid, a raid. I think here we need a drugs raid, okay? Yes, so drugs here. We will go back to 5, no problem.
Okay.
Now, 7, we have here another raid.
Down, maybe.
Down.
We say down raid. Yes, we say down raid. And the last one, a wrongful conviction or
Previous.
yes, previous conviction. And here what we're left with, let's see.
Driving.
Driving, yes, a driving offense. Driving offense, it works as well. All right, we're good to go. Wow, we have like many collocations here.
What was
Yes,
number?
which one?
Number 7.
Number 7 is down raid.
Oh, okay.
Yes, down raid.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any questions here? Down raid is like a surprise visit. All right, like a down, especially by police. They, I really don't want to, but it's okay. Anyway, it's science, or it's just learning. I mean, police usually. I read this in an article. Police usually, when they want to search for drug, they come at dawn. Okay, it's like early morning. You see, this is what they call it, a down raid.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Right. I don't know. In the West, it's very normal, but in our community, talking about drugs is like taboo. All right. Now let's move on. And here they're telling us, choose the correct collection to complete the sentences 1 to 6. Again, here we need to choose the correct collection, the correct alternatives here. For example, the first one, who can do to us the first one?
I can.
Go on, Ikram, you didn't read.
Okay, she refused to plead guilty and was determined to protest or commit her innocence in court. To protest.
Yes, to protest her innocence in court. Yes, that's correct. All right, go on and do the rest of them. Then we can do them together. Okay, let's do it together. Now, Tartil, you can do the next one.
Number 2, right?
Yes.
Okay. Weapons were seized during a down raid by the police.
Yes, a down raid by the police. Thank you. Now, next one, Tasneem, you can do it.
Okay. Both men had previous convictions for violent crimes.
Thank you. All right, I can do the next one. They use specialist tools to help them protect or carry out the crime. Carry out the crime. Yes. Ikram, you can do another one.
Her lawyer advised her to appeal against the sentence.
All right, to appeal against the sentence, that's correct. And Tartil, you can do another one.
You could lose your license if you commit another driving offense.
And that's correct.
Sure.
Good job, everyone. Yes, sure.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do they mean by appeal against a sentence?
Okay. Her lawyer advised her to appeal against the sentence. Well, appeal against, it's like here it means like generally when you appeal against, it's based on the like the wrong how to tell you, like eventually it was wrong that they passed the sentence. Okay, there was no legal power to pass that sentence. So to appeal against, it's like here her lawyer advised her to appeal against the sentence. Like I think here it means to protest against that sentence, okay, not to accept it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Let me just double check. It's a legal term. It's a legal terminology. Just let me make sure. Appeal against in like appeal against sentence in court. Court. Yes. Yes. But different. Right. Okay. To appeal, it's like to make a form request to the to a court or to someone in authority for a judgment or a decision change. So as I told you, appeal against here is like to write a form and to say this sentence is wrong. I want to change it, or I want you to look into it again. Okay? Like a petition.
Yeah.
Like a petition, yes. It's speaking time. Let's see here. Working groups. We're in groups. let's each group choose a topic below and discuss. Great, we are 4. We can, like I can give the first one according to our order. All right, the first one is for Ikram. Number 2 is for Tartil. 3 for Tasneem. And the last one for me. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Ikram, you can start. The question says, why do you think the wrong people are sometimes sent to prison?
Like there's two things. The first thing is when people are really not innocent, they are really criminal or something like that. They have to go to prison, and like they have to be charged. But the second thing, when people are innocent, I think when the judgment take the case personality or something like that, or maybe for like something, I don't know how to say it. Like we said, when in America they like don't like the people who has a black skin or something like that. Maybe even for their personalities, where they are from. Yeah, maybe because of that.
Racial, like the racial rate you're talking about. So
Yeah.
you think some people they're sent to prison because of their race? This is how some wrong people are sent to prison. This is what you want to say?
Yeah.
All right, that's correct. Well, that's correct according to our lesson. I didn't research into that, but yeah. All right, thank you. Now, I think it's Tartil's turn.
Yes, it's my turn.
Read to us the question, please.
Okay, is prison an effective deterrent against crime? Why and why not?
Did
Look,
you understand the question?
yes, but it's kind of complicated. If I said, yeah, look, some people spend a really, really long time at jail. They in a complete silence, like they don't do anything at all, just thinking, and maybe they die in prison. So I feel like sitting in a complete silence and in a loneliness could change people, could change the way how they think, and after they go out of jail, they maybe just want to start living in peace and just get off.
Or maybe some people are criminals in their genes, and they will
Yes,
just...
I'm gonna when they want to revenge their years, so they commit more crimes and do bad things a lot.
What is really sad about being a convict, I mean, if we looked at it from that side, if you remember, like in almost all over the governments, and even if you want to apply for a visa, even if you want to take a passport, if you want to do anything and you're like a pre-convict, you can't do it. And this is really harsh. This is completely another story, but I mean, it is related. Again, people who get out of jail, even if they finish their sentence, they still have less right than the others. And I think, yeah, maybe they can be violent sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for sharing. Now it's the Tasneem's turn.
Yes. 3. Can the police do anything to help reduce crime?
The public.
Can public, okay. Can the public do anything to help reduce crime? What can governments do to improve the situation? I think yes. I thought, by the way, I thought it was police. So I just think that they can use more security camera and crime alarms. So maybe the thief cannot do the thing that he gonna do. So I think that I didn't really like it was a public. But for the next part of the question, I think yes, the government should carry out awareness campaigns from time to time and to inspire the people to do good things and make them like try to avoid the bad things in this society.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for sharing. All right, it's my turn. Let me read the question for you. Why do young people turn to crime? What is the best way to stop them? Who do you think should be responsible for this? Okay, that's really interesting. And that's related to my job as an educator, young people. Well, I do believe that young people are not, how to tell you, they're not treated well in our communities. Like not just in our communities, almost all over the world. People don't contain them, don't talk to them enough. And that's how they I mean, people at this age, in this period of time, sorry, in this period of life, just they want to show up to the world that they exist, because they want to show like, yeah, hey, we're there. And the world is a very crowded place. People don't care. That's how they want to do something that they can show up in front of others. And I believe if people not like, I mean, generally, especially in the educational facilities, if they contain them, if they talk to them, if they supported them more, we would have way less crimes from the younger generation, in my opinion.
I agree with you totally.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to the next activity here, next page. Okay, grammar. Our topic today is really easy. It's called introductory it. What is this introductory it? We will get to know this after a break. Now I want you to look at the sentences here from the text, and I want you, what does it refer here? Okay, here you have line 6. This is why you have lines here. The first one in line 6, the second one in line 32, and the last one in line 37. So I want you to look, if you have a physical copy, this would be really helpful. Look at the sentence here. It is the last thing she expects to happen in line 6. Yes, here. So please look up the 3 its and tell me, what do they refer to? It's the last. Okay. Have you finished? Okay, not yet.
Second.
Right, take your time. Okay, let's do it together. So the first one, it is the last thing she expects to happen in line 6. What does it refer to, it here?
That they arrest her.
Yes, being arrested. Being arrested, thank you. Sorry, it doesn't work. Let me write it. So being arrested. Right, next one. is regular practice for these type of raids to take place here?
What does she wait, discovered?
Yes, I think it's related to rates here. Regular rates, yes, regular rates. It refers here to regular rates.
Sure, what do they mean by raid?
Raid, I told you, like so many policemen just enter a place. This is what they call a raid. Okay, the last one. It seems that the more guilty plea agreements that are signed in line 37. What does it refer to here? The situation. I know you're a little bit confused. It's okay. We're gonna discuss the introductory together after a break. So take a 10-minute break now, and after a break we can discuss the introductory and its conditions. Okay, everyone?
Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Hello, teacher. Yes.
Welcome back. Okay, let me share our book. So is everybody back? Are you back, Tartil and Ikram?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, welcome. So before the break, I told you we're going to discuss something called introductory. And I do believe that you use this without even thinking about it. But anyway, we'll discuss it today and we'll see in what conditions do we use this kind of grammar. Now I want you to go to exercise B. You can see here, B. And I want you to check what you know. I want you to add it in the correct place or places. Here you have 10, all right, you have 10 sentences to work on. I'll give you an example. Let me do the first one for you. It's me here. Yes. I could hardly believe it. You see here? This is the introductory it we talked about. I can hardly believe it when the police officer told me what had happened. Yes, that's it. You just need to add it here. I want you to do the same with the other sentences. Did you understand?
Yes.
Okay. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. Tartib, you can do the next one. You can do number.
Okay, it has been reported that a number of people in the area were affected.
So I need it at the beginning, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Now, I heard something like a bird. Do you have some birds?
No.
Right.
They are in our garden.
Okay. Now, Tasneem, it's your turn.
Okay. It is no use. I've looked everywhere for my wallet, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
So what do I hear?
Sorry, teacher, I can't hear you well.
It's no use, right? It's no use.
Yeah, I said it's no use and I can't find it anywhere.
Yes, I can't find it anywhere. Thank you. So here I need two it's.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Go on, Ikram, it's your turn.
We would appreciate it if you didn't tell anyone about this.
We would appreciate it. if you didn't tell anyone about this. Thank you. All right, I will do number 5. Well, yes. It is supposed, sorry, it's surprising how quickly I was able to master the skill. So here I need to it. All right, now whose turn is it? I believe, again, you can, yes, you can go for it, Tartil.
Okay, it is no wonder you couldn't find your bag. You left it in the cafe.
Thank you. I need here an it. All right, now Tasneem, you can do it.
How much far is it? It is not far now.
I need an it here. Okay. It is not far now. All right, now Ikram, you can do the next one.
It is a pity that you will not be able to make it to the lunch.
It is a pity you won't be able to make it to the lunch. All right, thank you. Now it's my turn. It was warm. It was a warm day for the time. It was a warm day for the time of year. Okay. Now the last one, it appears. It appears that someone has made a mistake. If I asked you, now we have so many it's here, right? If I asked you, what does these it's mean? Or what do these it's mean?
Depends on the sentence.
What do you think? Do they mean anything?
Yes.
Yes.
They refer to something else, but if you had them like in a meaning, like they really don't mean anything. They just refer to something else in the sentence, right?
Right.
So we
Yes.
just use them to grammatically complete the sentence, but as we don't use them as pronouns, like to refer to a cat or something at the beginning of the sentence. But here we just use them to fill the gaps, the grammatical gap. And this is what we call introductory it. Okay. Now, before we go with the rules, I want you to go to page 134. Can you see it? Do you find the page?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Let me explain to you here the conditions and the cases for this it, and then we will go and have an activity together. They're telling us we use it, an empty subject, to introduce or identify something later in the sentence or in the phrase. Let's see. So what's the problem? It's nothing. It's nothing, okay? It's just that I'm worried about work. So here we're just using it to introduce something or to identify something that will come later in the phrase. All right. They're telling us use it plus B to talk about. We talk about the weather. It's a bit chilly, like cold, for this time of the year. We use it also with time and dates. It's about 2:30 time. It's about early June, for example. Dates. Situations. We use it with situations as well. It's a very peaceful place. It's a very nice cafe, for example. So we use it with weather, time and dates, situations, and also distances. It's about 30 kilometers away. Again, distances. I believe you already use all of this, but they're just clarifying more and more about it. They're telling you, use it before some phrases to describe probability. So This is really interesting. We use it to describe probability, like probability, it might happen, right? For example, it looks as though we're going to lose. This is as though. Have you ever heard of it? It means like as if.
Yes.
It means like as if. Here they want to say it looks like we're going to lose. Okay, this is what they want to. This is a little bit like not frequent to be used. As though. Yes, it's like as if we're going to lose. Here it describes probability, like maybe we will lose, maybe we won't. Okay, they're telling you we use it before some phrases to report events. Again, we use it to tell about events. It would appear that they have left without us. So here again, events or situations. All right, so far so good. Let's move on to the other side. They're telling us we use it as an empty object after certain verbs to introduce a clause. Let's see. For example, subject plus a verb plus this empty it and a complement. After that, you have infinitive and clause. Let's see. I'd appreciate if, and after that you put the clause you want to talk about. For example, I'd appreciate if you come to class with your books. For example, I find it impossible to, here you put a phrase, to find my my wallet. Again, this is very easy, but still, they just want to clarify that this it here, it's called like an empty it, okay? It's an empty object. Other common expressions with it, we use it plus be plus an adjective. It is hard to know. It is hard. You see, it's hard to know if, and then you put whatever you want. It's easy to believe that, and again, whatever you want. All right, they're telling us we have this condition as well, it plus verb phrase. It always amazes me that, for example, we have fun during our school lessons, for example, maybe you won't. So here it, again, it's just, if you think about it, it really has no meaning, but it's just grammatically there. And I believe we have something similar in Arabic. It looks, or it seems as if we've lost the game or we've lost the match. All right, they're telling us it in the middle of the phrase. Sometimes it works in the middle as well. I will leave it to you to decide. What is it here? Maybe the matter, maybe a thing that we're talking about, and you know it from the context, right? Imagine that you're repeating, we're talking about something like, for example, a match, and you're repeating the word the match again and again. The receiver will be just, or the receiver of the conversation, the other part will be so bored. But here, when you use it again, instead of repeating the same word, this is exactly the function of this it. For example, I find it easy, and again, you say what you find easy. There are some fixed expressions, like it's no wonder, it's no, for example, it is considered, it's pointless. Yes. So do you have any questions here? It's no considerance that.
No.
Okay, no. Right. Okay. So I believe this is a little bit easy for you, right?
Yes.
All right. Now let's move on there. And I wanted to add here in the sentences the correct like I wanted to add it in the correct places. You have sentences 1 to 8. Go on, please.
Okay, teacher, done.
All right, let's do it together. Let me just use this one, and here my pen. Okay, so who wants to do number 1?
I can do it.
Go ahead, please.
I can't stand it when all does is rain for days on end.
Thank you. I can't stand it when all etc. etc. Now number 2, Tartil.
I'd appreciate it if you could give me a little more notice next time.
Okay. Ikram, it's your turn.
No use. It's
Your
just
turn.
there.
What is missing there?
It is just standing there.
Yes, it is. Or it's no use just standing there. All right, and now it's my turn. You see, I used it. Okay. So I found it. I found it. Hard to believe that the summer is here already. Yes, Tartil, you can do the next one.
Number 6, right?
Number 5.
Oh, okay. It appears that the police have video footage of the incident.
Thank you. Tasneem.
Okay. 7, right?
Number 6.
Oh, okay. It's pointless arguing with her when she's in that kind of state.
All right, that's correct. Number 7.
Can I?
Yes, number 7, please.
I will leave it to the others to decide what time we should meet.
Thank you. I will leave it to the others to decide what time we should meet. I've always made it. I'm sorry, made it. Let me clean this one. Yes, I've always made it clear that my family has to take priority over my work. I think this is too easy. Let's now move back to where we stopped. Do you have any questions here?
No.
Okay. Now, let's do this together. Okay. They're telling us, look at the exercise 6A and 6B. We did them. Find examples of it used in the following, for the following purposes. Let's see here. They're telling us, use it at the beginning of the sentence. Like here we have A to talk about the weather, the situations. We don't need to. We don't need to, you know, it's just repeating itself. Just repeating itself. You can just read the examples. For example, here, it rains a lot in September. Again, you can see how they used it. It's extraordinary. how often we have the same idea. It appears that someone broke into the office. It has been reported that the police decided not to pursue the case. I'd appreciate it if you would help with our inquiries, and I can't help it, we made it. All right, this is very easy. Now let's move down there. And here we have sentences. We have 8 sentences, and we have some words in the box. We need to complete the sentences with the words in the box. We have difficult, helpful, funny, shame, appears, important, and wonder. Go on. Did you understand? Are you working on it?
Yes.
All right. Okay. Let me do the first one for you. It is difficult to believe that. It's difficult to believe. You don't need that here. He would have left the money here. So I just need difficult here. Okay. Next one. Who wants to do it?
I can do it.
Go on.
It's no shame you were scared. That car nearly hit you.
I'd say it's no wonder. It's no wonder. It's no wonder. Here, wonder. Thank you. Tartil, you can do the next one.
It's not my fault we didn't finish on time.
Thank you. It's not my fault. Here I need here, and I need fault. Thank you. Tasneem, next one.
I can't appear that if I keep making mistakes, nobody is perfect.
I'd say I can't help it.
Oh, okay.
Can't help it, yes. My turn, number 5. It is that we clear up any misunderstanding. Okay, it's important. It's important, so I need the word important here. Okay, important. Next one, Ikram, you can do another one.
It was funny that we didn't see at the beginning.
I think it was a shame. Like, it's a shame. It was a shame. Shame. Tartil, next one is yours.
It appears to have been a mistake.
Yes, it appears to have been a mistake. Thank you. And the last one, Tasneem, please.
It's funny how things always turn out okay in the end.
Thank you. It's funny. It's funny how things always turn out okay in the end. All right, these are yours. You can do them at home. You just need to complete the sentences with what you think is correct according to you. Okay. Let's move on down there. Here we have an extra activity. You can again read it at home on your own. It's about the film. Perhaps you'd like to watch the film. It's interesting again, and based on a true story. Now let's move on to 4.2. Let's work on the speaking first. Telling us most important social issues in your country and in the world at the moment. Social issues. I don't know, immigration.
Poverty.
Sorry?
I said poverty.
Oh, poverty. Yeah. Like illiteracy. Illiteracy. Do you know the meaning of illiteracy? Like people who don't know how to read and write.
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, I believe there are still many people across the world who don't know how to read and write. What else? Do you know any other social issues?
Like global warming.
Global warming. I honestly speaking, I don't think it's a social issue. I think but it's a global issue, definitely. But it's scientific issue, you know.
I believe women's rights.
Yes, that's right. Women's rights. Yes. All right. So, what is being done about them? And do you know of anyone who is involved in tracking these issues? Honestly speaking, I have no clue. What about you?
The question.
I can't think of them, you know.
Yes, please go on, Ikram. What is your question?
Can you again the question? Like I didn't understand it.
The question is what is being done about these issues we talked about? Do you know what's being done? Like what just happened on those issues? And if you know anyone who is keeping track of these issues, like anyone who is working in these social issues.
Like there is like a lot of programs who's trying to try to have a solve like I don't know how to say it to resolve the poverty. I think there's a lot of like programs, but they didn't because there's a lot of people who are in need actually.
In Saudi Arabia.
Not in Saudi Arabia, in the whole world.
And the entire, yeah. So here, we have here like two boxes. I want you to look at the boxes here, down there. Can you see them? Okay. So let's work together and let's look at the expressions and let's discuss if you know any, and we can just check the meaning of these issues. For example, the first one is human rights. Human rights. So can you give me an example of a human rights?
The right to learn,
Freedom.
read.
Education.
Yes, I think it's the freedom of choice. Freedom of choice. Intellectual property.
What does this mean?
All right, you can come back to it just in a second. Let's go to the next one. Child labor. Do you know what child labor is?
No.
Child labor is a very unfortunate thing. It's like when children, like minor children, work in factories.
Okay.
Okay. Intellectual property is like having a patent like a brand for you. Okay. So intellectual property, it's like a property that is a result of creativity, a thing that you created. See?
Can you again, please?
So it is an intellectual property. A property is something that you own, okay? Something that you own. Intellectual is something from your, from your brain. So an intellectual property, it's like the thing which comes up with your intellectuality, your creativity. An example of this can be the patents, براءات اختراع, okay, or the copyrights, like making videos.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Economic development. Yeah, this is an issue nowadays with all of this inflation in the world.
Is it issue?
It is an issue. It is an issue. Now the world is facing, like, I believe it's like economic depression or something. It's like it's inflation all over the world. All right. What about this one? Capital punishment. Yes, this is a very interesting one. Do you know what this one is?
No.
Capital punishment. It's very discussed in the West that should governments, in fact, nowadays it's not even discussed. They already took their decisions not to have any capital punishments at all. Capital punishment is like to kill a criminal, okay? Like in America, the chair, and in some countries, hang someone. It's the capital punishment.
Oh yeah.
But in Europe, they don't have a capital punishment. They just have life-term imprisonment. That's the maximum thing that they do with convicts. So what do you think about this one? Do you think people should?
It is better than like to
I
stay
didn't hear
in the jail
yourself.
to the end of your life.
Okay, what about you, Tartila and Tasneem? I don't hear your voices. Are you still there?
Yes, we're here. I
What
don't
do
know.
you think?
Maybe people should spend their lifetime in jail instead of capital punishment. Like, imagine the feeling that when you're gonna die.
I don't. I definitely don't.
Sorry, I didn't mean that, but
I'm just kidding with you. Yeah, definitely. No one
Don't
wants to. No one wants to try that. Willingly.
yes.
Yeah. Well, the other term is again interesting. Religious freedom. Like people should have freedom of their religion. Okay. Next, we have environmental awareness, like to have an awareness in our environment. Gun control. Gun control, I believe this is an issue of the United States. In the United States, it's like gun legislations is like, it's a very critical issue. And because it's legal for locals there to have like guns. It's a very interesting issue there. I believe there should be gun control, but Americans mostly, I believe they don't. Illegal immigration. Again, this is a very interesting issue, and nowadays everybody is talking about it.
What does it mean? Immigration?
Immigration, like people traveling from countries to other countries illegally.
Okay.
Just crossing the borders.
Yes.
Civil liberties, like to have civil rights. Freedom trade, a free trade, like free, have no taxes on export and import, or yeah, and freedom of speech eventually. Freedom of speech. Okay. Now, let me check here. Yes. Now let's listen to a pair discussing some of the questions. Let's see the questions here. We have like 2 questions. They're telling us, do you know any celebrities who campaign about social issues? Are they effective? And the other question is, what are the best way to fight for social justice? So do you have any ideas? Do you want to add anything here?
So what do they mean by campaign?
Campaign is like, it's even on Facebook and social media. When people want something, they gather together and they try to collect more voices, you know, like to advocate about that thing.
Oh,
Like
then,
we say hamle, okay?
oh yeah, I got it.
Yeah. So we will listen to 3 people. We will listen like to 3 speakers here, and we will see what what are their cases. Okay. Let me play the recording for you.
Unit 4, Recording 4. Speaker 1.
I really admire Malala Yousafzai. Her story is astonishing. She was a BBC blogger at the age of 11, and in that role, she revealed the state of schooling for girls in Pakistan. Basically, girls were being prevented from getting an education, and she campaigned against this and shed light on what was going on in the country. And of course, this got her into all sorts of trouble with the Taliban. And a few years later, she was shot point blank in an assassination attempt. Miraculously, she survived. But for me, the amazing thing is that instead of being scared, she continued to advocate for children's rights. I think she spoke to the United Nations and various presidents. And of course, people with that kind of courage and determination are 1 in a million. And so a few years ago, she was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. She was the youngest person ever to win it, at just 17 years old.
Speaker 2.
Rigoberta Menchú is my hero without a doubt. She's an extraordinary woman and someone I really look up to. She's an indigenous woman from a poor background in Guatemala, and she's fought for human rights all her life. Several members of her family were murdered when Rigoberta was still young, and she was exiled to Mexico for her own protection. But the interesting thing is, this didn't deter her at all. She just carried on campaigning against the human rights violations and the atrocities perpetrated by the military. So, obviously, she's a very, very brave person. But I think what kind of propelled her into the world's consciousness was the book she published about her life, called I, Rigoberta Menchú. This kind of alerted people to the wider struggles and made her a household name, a beacon for justice, certainly in the world of human rights advocacy. And she's such a humble person. She's a stellar figure in Guatemala, but you wouldn't know it from her manner and her appearance and the way she carries herself.
Speaker 3.
Someone I admire is Cornel West, an American intellectual. He speaks out about all kinds of issues, like civil rights, particularly for African Americans and for the poor. What stands out is his charisma, and that he's an amazing, electrifying speaker. You can see him on YouTube, or acting in 2 of the Matrix films. He's kind of like a crazy preacher, but really funny and sharp. And, okay, he has a PhD from Princeton, but he has a really good grasp of pop culture. And when he speaks, he uses all these academic references, but also references to TV and rap music. Also, he's completely fearless. He criticised President Bush, but also President Obama. And I think he was arrested at one point for civil disobedience in New York. He's just a tower of strength and eloquence.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. Those three people seem to be doing many things. What do you think about them? Girls?
Yes.
Did you hear what I was sharing?
Yes, they are so brave that they fought for humans' right, and
Yeah, especially the first one.
yes,
First one who fought for the, yeah,
girls' right.
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, talking about, yes, go on. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, no, I said that. Nothing.
All right. Feel free. Feel free. Now I want to hear in 6, I wanted to read sentences 1 to 7, and I wanted to match them with the verbs that are used with the with the sentence. Sorry, I want to hear to look at sentences 1 to 7 and match the verbs used in the sentences to the tenses A to G. So for example, here you can see sentence 4, it's in the present perfect. Okay, so here you have present perfect continuous, past perfect continuous, future perfect continuous, and perfect infinitive. Don't worry if you don't know all of them. Just try to match them, okay? And we're almost done, don't you worry.
I'm done.
All right. Let's do it together. So I will read the sentence and you tell me which tense is this, okay?
Okay.
For every 40 years, Minchu has been advocating for women's rights.
Present perfect continuous.
Perfect.
Well, it's present perfect continuous. That's correct. It has been advocating. That's correct. Yes. Next one. Read it for us, Tartil. Go on.
Oh, okay. West's ability to perform in public seems to have helped him attract followers. It's present perfect.
It's perfect infinitive. I will tell you why.
Oh, okay.
It seems to have helped him. When we have to plus like past participle, or we have like have plus the past participle verb, this is what we call future infinitive, okay? Because it had like it has it before, sorry, it has to before the perfect verb phrase.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Tartil, go on for number 3.
Okay, before leaving high school.
Sorry, I meant this name.
Okay. Before leaving high school, Wes had already practiced in civil rights.
Participated
Participated in civil rights Demonstrations.
Demonstrations.
Demonstrations. I think this is past perfect.
Well, it is past perfect. Thank you. You're good with grammar, Tasneem.
Thank you.
Demonstrations are like when people protest about something. Okay, Ikram, it's your turn.
Mensch's work has helped to shed light on the situation confronting indigenous people. It is already done. Present perfect.
It is present perfect. It's done. Yes, thank you. All right, it's my turn. For she continuous by 2050, Yusuf, Yusuf Fazia will have been fighting for human rights for over 50 years. So here we have, we will have been fighting.
I think future perfect continuous.
I think it's a future perfect continuous, and that's correct. Yusuf Faizi had been campaigning for children's rights before she was attacked. So here, had been campaigning.
Past perfect continuous.
It's past perfect continuous, that's correct. And the last one, some people think that by 2040, Yusuf Faizi will have become Pakistan's president. Will have become.
Future perfect.
It's future perfect. That's correct. Interesting. So it is really interesting to discuss about all of this today. I'm not gonna have the grammar, like the grammar unit now. You already tackled so many things. So I think we can stop here today and we can continue next week. Do you have any questions about what we tackled?
No, thank you.
No, teacher, thank you.
You're most welcome. I wish you a good day and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye, everyone.